Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good to see you. Hope you're having a great day. May have been filled with cereal, orange juice, and a hot cup of coffee. This is the Open Water Podcast, Season 1, Episode 14, we believe. That seems right. Here at the Open Water Podcast, we just go a little bit deeper. Just a little bit. Talking about stuff about Sunday, things happening in the world, Ormond Beach, and all the other festivities. With that said, let's dive in.
Begin. You ever been offshore?
No. I'm scared of the ocean.
Same. It's best to do it in a theoretical way here.
No, I mean, you know the story that like I grew up in the suburbs of Illinois, having a burning desire to be a marine biologist or an oceanographer. Really, either one was. I went to the Shed when I was young, the Shed Aquarium.
Inspiring.
I was like, I want to do this. And then I went to the ocean for the first time when I was 16. My whole family was like playing in the water, and I just like stood on the shore. Just my dad thought I was like having a stroke. He's like, "What's up with you?" And I was like, "The ocean is terrifying." He's like, "It's not that bad. Just go to your knees." And I did. That's about as far as I made it the first time in the ocean.
There's something about like being terrified of something, but like also intrigued by it. Like I always wanted to be like a meteorologist growing up.
A what?
Meteorologist.
Oh, they said
weather
eagle-ologist.
guy. No,
that's like neat.
That'd be cool too. That'd be super cool. I should have had better dreams.
Meteorologist, yeah. Study the rocks.
The weather.
Oh, the meteor. Oh, I'm sorry. They said meteor, like not. That was my bad. Meteorologist is a weatherman. I did know that. I was thinking meteors. But
I'm like deathly afraid of tornadoes and storms.
Yeah, that's great.
But you know, it's too much.
Sorry.
Didn't choose the path. Oh well.
Now you're here. The
Yes.
Lord led you here. You never would have guessed this either, though. When you were a young lad, you
Nope.
never were like, "I'm going to be doing church work." And
I've been quoted saying I will never live in Florida and I'll never work at a church. And
I have been quoted, "I will never live in Florida, and I will never be a lead pastor." Isn't it funny how the Lord does those things? Where I remember very vividly. I remember leaving the first church I was at due to some inner decisions of them changing their whole all their beliefs really. And I said, "Hey, I can't stay here if these are the doctrine you subscribe to." And so I ended up taking a job back in Illinois and being a high school pastor. And I was like, I remember getting in the car driving to my first day and being like, I'm so relieved I won't have to work with middle school kids again. And not that like it's just a different gear. You know how it is. Like high school kids are just a different gear than middle school kids. I actually prefer working with middle school kids now than high school kids. Because high school kids think they're cool. But literally 6 weeks into my job as the high school pastor there, they're like, "Hey, you're going to oversee middle school as well." And I was just like, man, every time I think a season has like, I'm like, no, that's not me. The Lord like seems to like thrust you into that position of like, great, here we are. Like, Lord, you have to do this because it's not in my strength to do it. So,
Yep.
Man, what a sense of humor God has.
No joke.
All right, let's jump into our favorite things.
Let's do it.
It's felt like it's a long week. This was a long week.
Just feel like it was a long week.
You've hosted people. I've hosted people in our homes. And
there's something about getting to the end of our first run of John, too. I don't know. It feels like this is the last week, best week or something of John.
9 months in John.
Yeah. Good job, everybody.
Yeah. I think it's just shy of 30 messages in the book of John. We just wrapped up chapter 7.
Good ratio.
Yeah. And we admittedly did more this week than we probably should have as far as like time, like pacing. I really wanted to conclude chapter 7 before we went to the summer. And so I bit off more than I could chew.
We left it on a huge cliffhanger, which we'll get into in a minute. But first,
it's funny though because the Book of John is really interesting because like a lot of people don't know this. Is like it's there's not really a birth narrative. I mean, you could argue that John 1 is like starts beginning like before time, right? Like it's like which is a cool thing. It's like in the beginning was the word, but then there's not like a standard birth narrative. No Bethlehem, no manger.
Right.
But then it kind of like skips through some stuff, and then it. Like you have like multiple chapters on this moment, which is hilarious because John's just like chunk, and then you're like, all right, let's spend like 4 chapters or whatever on this one conversation, which is interesting because it most likely didn't happen for a very long time. It probably wasn't like, it wasn't days. It was probably like minutes or hours. And John's like, this is it. We got to talk about it. So it's interesting when you're teaching through it just shifts things. But
a lot of ink was put on this moment.
Yeah. John is he's a great writer. Like that's what I've learned through the book of John is he's like they're all the gospels are great, but like I learned to like love the style of John's writing. It feels like, you know how like you become a fan of authors and then you're like, oh, I really like their style. Like John is like one of the best authors in my opinion.
Huh, yeah.
He's like kind of a huge nerd in like the best way. He just like focuses on the cool things and like doesn't emphasize certain things, and it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have the Gospel Parallel book. Great book. If you're like looking for a great resource to study the Bible, pick up the book Gospel Parallels.
Yeah, it places the synoptic gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, and Luke, side by side, so that the stories line up, not necessarily the numbers and chapter text.
But it's cool because John, obviously not in that grouping,
Yeah.
is like I have John and then I have these side by side, and they're all so like different. It's just interesting seeing John's outlook on things that Matthew, Mark, and Luke are also talking about or not talking.
Why John isn't included in the synoptic gospels is a story for another time.
Yeah, wait till season 2.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's jump into our favorite things.
Yes.
Let's hear it. What was your favorite thing this week?
I haven't been to the Kennedy Space Center in 15 years.
Yeah.
Went with the family this past week, and boy, has it changed. Like, feels like 80% of it was different.
Sure has.
Some of the
You sound so old.
I know. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
I was a boy.
Like,
Everything was made of cardboard.
was like flying the last time I visited the Kennedy Space Center, and then it was just hanging up and
now it's an
in
exhibit.
the ceiling. It's so cool there, man. I forgot how cool space is.
Space is very cool.
Kennedy Space Center. If you haven't gone, you're missing out, man. And then there was a launch 2 days ago.
There was.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to be a hater. I don't think the Space Center is very cool. I love space. I love space. I just, it's cool going once. Like we got season passes, so I've been a sucker for the Central Zoo. They're like, it's such a great zoo. You will come back multiple times, and so we bought a season pass to that, and we bought a pass to the Kennedy Space Center, which they do have a kids play area, which is very cool.
Oh yeah.
But it is not worth going back to like 3 times in a year.
Fair. I'll give you that. You can do it all in a day. They say like, give
which
it
I
3
like.
days,
Like
but
that's and the first time I went, I was like a great experience. But then we went back like 2 weeks later. I was like, why are we here?
all that Apollo stuff though is so cool.
Yeah,
If you believe in the moon or not, it's cool stuff.
there it is. All right, my favorite thing this week.
Please,
Dude, I don't know. It reminds me a little more. My favorite thing this week is new things. I just like new things.
Nice.
As I said to Amando, new is always better.
Okay.
But, that's not true, but I just like new things. I've realized that like
What's new to you?
new this week was I try to go to a new coffee shop every week. I try to do that. Like I would drive probably within an hour. Like I try to go to new coffee shops every Friday with my family. I try to do that. That's like a goal. We've hit like most of the ones locally, so we're beginning to extend our reach.
All right.
So if you have a coffee shop that you love within like a reasonable distance, let me know. Yeah, it was just cool. I don't know. Like I like having people experience new things with me. So like my parents came into town for a couple of days, and like I got to take them to some places that like we really enjoy. And so like we took them to a place where we get bagels often, and they were like, "Oh, this is so cute!" Like I love watching people experience new things too.
Oh yeah.
And so we played disc golf. Like I took my kids and my parents. We played disc golf together.
Awesome.
And I don't think my mom's played disc golf in a long time. It was like cool. It was just a cool thing to do. So I just like new things. I like new foods. I like new restaurants. I like new places. I like
Variety is the spice of life.
I like new things. So that's my favorite thing is new things.
That's good.
So, yeah, saved a banger for the season finale. So.
Crushed it.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, this is a new segment.
Yeah.
And it was inspired by our very own Daniel Gibbs. If you're out there listening, Daniel, this is you. This segment is called Catch Us on Sunday.
Catch Us on Sunday.
Which, if you see us on Sunday and you have a great segment idea, just pitch it to us, and then we'll do it on Monday.
But try to do it in like a minute. If you can't do your pitch in a minute,
it's like Shark Tank style. You got to get through it.
I will say there was a person, and they like I know who they are. They're watching, so it's okay. They gave me a pitch, and it was like a 19-minute pitch of a segment, and I was like,
can't have
it takes
that.
you 19 minutes.
Boil it down.
To summarize it, it would take 3 hours for us to do it on the podcast.
Yep.
And I know my inbox is flooded with people being like, make long form podcast content, but it's just like it's not our style.
Well, Daniel Gibbs pitched a great one yesterday, and it's a kind of a play on Would You Rather, but it's if I had to.
I love it.
If I had to do this or that, and he made specific mention that it's a slightly uncomfortable situation.
Okay.
So I have a
series of.
I have a series of Would You Rathers.
Love it.
For you.
Okay.
Let's get started. Would you rather get a large tattoo or have a sleeve of tattoos removed?
Oh gosh, get a large tattoo.
Okay.
Have you seen the like laser removal?
Looks a little scary.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And like I maybe it's changed, but last time I saw it being done on YouTube, it like didn't actually fully like it kind of just like made it like shadowy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I would rather commit to the game and get a large
Right.
tattoo.
Have your pick.
Yeah.
Noted.
What would you do?
Yeah, large tattoo. I think. But that's the game. You have to.
No, yeah, I get it.
would you
I
rather-
get it. I get it. I just
no way out.
Tattoo removal sounds.
All right, this is a good one. Next one is: would you rather steal candy from a baby or an elderly person? I don't make the rules. You have to pick one.
Elderly person, because I feel like they are willingly giving away candy all the
so?
time. They're like, here's cream savers.
That's a
and
good
there's
answer.
Caramels.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I used to visit my grandma in a nursing home. They'd be like, every old person's like,
This is a confession?
here,
Yeah.
here, and I'm like, thank you. So
That's a good point. My grandma always had a jar of
yeah, they
lemon
want
drops.
you to have candy.
I guess so.
And versus baby, like I would never do that.
A good answer.
Yeah,
That wasn't uncomfortable enough. How about this? Rocking your shoe or having wet socks for a day?
Oh, rock my shoe for sure.
Rocking your shoe?
Yeah, no, wet socks is like that's like
What is it? The squish? The feel?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all the above. That is gross. That is like a bad feeling. That's
I
like
meant if you like having wet socks.
No one
you're
likes
out
having
there. I
wet
know you're out there, and I know you're listening.
no, because like I've like done stuff where I've had to like climb into like ponds to get discs out or whatever, and I remember like making the decision one time and was like, yeah, I'll just take my shoes off and the socks will protect my foot from debris. And then I was like, I should just come. I would rather have had like something pierce my foot than have wet socks for the next 3 hours. It just like wasn't worth it.
Yep. Good answer. All right. Would you rather cut your fingernails with a scissors or an axe? Carefully, for sure. But
Axe, definitely. Scissors. There's something about the swishing motion of scissors. Shing, shing, shing.
I guess
I'd rather
that's
just
kinda-
like dink, dink. Just feels more accurate. I feel like I'm more precise than axe.
just I'm trying to think. Like a fingernail clipper is kind of like a scissors in a way.
Yeah, but they're not.
I guess so.
Because like you're like because it's the up down pull motion of the scissors. That sounds horrifying.
Would you rather travel to Nebraska by bus or Mexico by boat?
What kind of boat? That's all right.
With a motor.
That would take like days. Nebraska by bus.
All right.
We're talking about our fear of the
You're
ocean.
going to Nebraska.
I don't like with a motor. That could be like a 6-foot boat. Like you're done. You're
Get there eventually. You just have to travel the Gulf, you know?
Yeah, totally. The Gulf of America in a little short boat. No, thank you.
That could be fun.
That's how people go missing forever. Jeez, no.
Same with the bus to Nebraska. Whatever.
No, it's not. No, the bus system is a great mode of transportation.
All right, a food one. Would you rather eat a raw Carolina Reaper pepper, like the second or third hottest
it.
pepper,
Okay.
or would you rather have raw ground beef?
Pepper.
That's called something. Pepper?
Yeah, pepper, dude.
You take the heat?
Done it before. I'll do it.
Really?
again. Yeah.
They make some meat. I forget what it's called. There's a tartare.
A tartare.
It's fancy stuff. You'd rather take the heat than the fancy, huh?
Correct.
All right.
What's the it's a big Wisconsin thing. The raw meat sandwich.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't
Loose
do
meat
that.
sandwich.
All right.
All right, last one. Be a fish for a day or a bird for a day.
Bird. Birds are cool, dude. Birds are weird animals. You like birds.
I feel like the ocean though is like we think there's not much there, but I guess it's just it's less empty than the sky.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather like fly around and like check out some cool spots than like be in the ocean, just like swim for as far as you can for one day and still see nothing?
I don't know.
I feel like Nemo is a very clear description of like the ocean, whereas like once you hit the drop off, it is just like the abyss. I think like
True.
we think of like, oh, the reefs in Australia, which would be cool, but like if you're just dropped in the middle of the ocean, there's a high likelihood you're like, there's nothing to see for an entire day.
I suppose. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'd rather go see. I'd fly above the ocean as a bird, and that would be pretty cool.
That's good. And now we fly above our segment. Catch us on Sunday. If you got a good idea, pitch it
know.
to us.
Let us know. We'd love to do it.
If it's good, we'll do it right away.
All right.
All
What's
right.
Next?
Next, let's get into Sunday.
Sunday. Here we go.
Finish John chapter 7. We did a lot of text. 27 verses, I think,
Yes.
was the count.
25
and
52.
This is like we kind of, I don't know if you meant to, but we kind of left it on a cliffhanger. It's like this whole John up till now is like Jesus preparing for the ministry, gathering his team,
Yep.
and like slowly trying to figure out when the time is right.
Sure.
To go public, and here it is.
Yep.
This is where we leave it for the summer.
Yep.
And not only does he go public, he goes public in, I think, just an awesome
Yeah.
way, like the chutzpah of Jesus. And a lot of scholars, we talked about this on Sunday, a lot of scholars think that it was during the quietest moment of the festival, when everyone is silent.
Yeah.
That's when Jesus spoke up.
Yeah.
Said, "Come to me."
Yeah.
And whew,
Yeah.
that gives me
Living
water
water.
every time I think about it. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool moment.
Talked about we framed it through the lens of truth. Why don't you talk to us about how you landed?
Yeah.
What popped out to you?
I think it's been an ongoing theme for the last couple of weeks where, like, these people are being, like, given, like, spoon-fed, like, the truth of Jesus. And Jesus is like, I am the way. Like, follow me, believe. And people are just like, I don't know. And, like, Jesus isn't, he's not pitching a case for himself. What he's doing is just declaring who he is. And people are just, like, looking for excuses to not believe, and looking for excuses to not follow, and to not submit, to not obey. And really, I do think it is a picture of us. Like, because I kind of said it at the end a little bit of like, yes, these are real events, these are real people. But really, it is, if we're honest, it's us. Like, we leave moments where we're like, do I really, like, believe that God is exactly who he says he is? And do I really have, like, the faith that, you know, God is going to, you know, do what he says he's going to do, and is he going to keep his promises? And I think I've interacted with a number of people who are looking for excuses to not follow, like looking for things to be like, this is, I can't because of this. And obviously everybody's on a journey, and there's a process to following. But I think that's been like kind of the underlying theme. And despite having 4 weeks that, I don't think I've put tremendous language to it. I'm still working on it in my own head and heart, which is a tough thing. Was like when you're actively processing while like having to communicate on it. But I think there are people who wrestle with belief. Obviously, I think everyone has seasons of wrestling with belief to a degree, not necessarily in the character of Jesus' salvation, but just in aspects of God. But like, what does it look like for people to be like, no, I'm going to like be all in all the time. Like, I'm going to commit to this. And I think helping those who struggle with belief, like, overcome that struggle is that was kind of the goal through this. And I mentioned a friend who literally was like, I don't like this part of the Bible, thus I don't believe. And I literally asked him, I was like, do you believe it to be true? He's like, yes, but it doesn't matter. I don't like it. And he just like disregarded the faith as a result of like not liking something. And that has been something that like lingers in my mind often of like, are there people who just dismiss the whole faith, dismiss the invitation to follow Jesus and partake in it?
Dismiss truth.
Yeah, just like consciously, like I reject this, and you're like, that is wild. And so I'm helping people see the value of truth and walk in truth. And the second point in particular of like their perception of truth like doesn't change the reality. Like they're like, well, you're not the Christ, and Jesus is like, let me be clear, I am, and this is what's going to happen. They're like, no, it's not. And they're like, it doesn't matter. And like sometimes it's like, it reminds me of like some conversations I have with my kids when they're like, we are not going to bed. You're like, no, you are going to your bedroom and you're going to be placed in your bed. Like that is going to happen. Like you can't make us. Next thing I was like, I have 2 kids over my shoulders. Like we didn't want this. You're like, that's what it feels like. It's like, they're like, Jesus, you're not going to do this. And Jesus is like, no, you can think and believe whatever you want, but like this is going to come to pass. And that part is like, it's wild because I think there's people who are like, I will not stand before Jesus. I will not kneel. And you're like, no. God's word says like every knee will bow and like every tongue will confess. And kind of wrestling in that space of like, you know, do I believe the things of God, or am I just like struggling with my own reality?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it is like truly a lifelong process. And we had a question actually come in from Sunday that kind of speaks to that a little bit.
Yeah.
That like the endurance and stamina aspect of all of this. Like, despite what life throws at you, when we do go through seasons of struggle with belief or fill in the blank, the question exactly I'll read it, is how do you fall in love with Jesus continuously?
Yeah.
After years of following him, how do you fall in love again and again?
It's a good question. Let me ask you a question. Do you fall in love with Carly again and again, or is it a perpetual, like you're in love with Carly, thus it's a constant state?
Yeah, the way I like to think of it is like my wife isn't a puzzle to be figured out once and for all.
Yeah.
But like, she's not the same person she was 10 years ago, and neither am I, thank God.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's more about falling in love with like the mystery of who they're always becoming, and she's just a continuously unfolding mystery.
I love that.
To discover.
Yeah, and I think the Lord is similar. Like I think, and the reason, like I understand the love question. I think love is often associated with a feeling. Of like I feel connected to God. I feel like this, and I think that's a danger is when we link only feelings to love, right? Because love is sacrificial, right? Love is a conscious activity of saying like I'm going to like I love the Lord. Thus, if I don't feel like it doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it's not there, right? So I think how do I continue to fall in love with Jesus, like after following Jesus for a long time, is this might be an oversimplification, but it's worked in my life. Is like I go back to the cross, I go back to the resurrection, I go back to new life found in Jesus, and like may we never become tired of talking about the cross and the resurrection, because like it's the thing, it's the crux of our faith, and it's like when you like, it's like, man, when I go back to like Jesus laying down his life out of his great love for his people, like dude, that is like the shepherd for the flock. Like every time I go back to the cross, I'm just like humbled, I'm thankful, and like we just serve such a kind God, and that's it might be an oversimplification, but that's been like something that's been rung true in my life.
I don't think so. I think we've often will like unnecessarily complicate it with, or like treat it as like an intellectual assent. Like if I knew more about the Bible or God, or if I did more, fill in the blank, then I'd be more in love with Jesus. But no, I think it's more of like coming back home. Yeah, like
100%.
You can always come back home.
Yep. And so that would be my answer to that question, and hopefully that helps. But yeah, I don't know. I think that like the more you walk with the Lord, like I think that as time goes on, it just feels more and more like, I remember being young, being like, pray without ceasing. What is that? Like, I have to be praying all the time. And then as I continue to get older, those things become like, they make more sense to me now. Where it's like, like this constant narrative in your brain of like how can God be glorified?
Interacting with the divine.
100%. And dude, I don't know. Like, I just feel like we do overcomplicate following Jesus more than they need to sometimes. And they think it's like a checkbox or like, a checklist. And you're like, man, it's like, I don't know. I've learned a lot from being like a dad, just the relationship with my kids. And I don't know. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's good. Next segment, everyone's favorite. You know it. You love it. Noah's Ark. What do we got this week from our crack team?
Snacks to smuggle into the movie theater.
Snacks to smuggle.
We don't endorse smuggling things in the movie theaters, but if we had to, Daniel Gibbs style.
We had to, yep.
We had to. It's my turn to go first, right?
Yeah. Actually, what have you snuck into the past? Fess up, dude. Fess up.
When I was younger and less wise in the ways of the Lord, I smuggled in 2 Chipotle burritos.
Yeah.
And that would be in my list. What happened was this is what happened, to be fair. I technically didn't smuggle them in. I walked in with a bag of Chipotle.
Okay, technicality.
Unapologetically.
Sure.
And they're like, yo, you can't bring that in here.
All right.
I said, what do you want me to do with it? And they said, throw it away. And so I put it in the garbage. And then I went and bought a Diet Coke, and then I walked back and pulled the Chipotle out of the garbage and went into the theater and ate.
Sleuthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, don't endorse. I do not endorse. I do not endorse
I see how you operate.
So I'm going to say Chipotle burrito is my number one.
Crime happens, and an officer of the law didn't see it. Did it happen?
Yeah, it did. Same for the Lord, not the police. We'll do the police too. But side note, have you seen Sheriff Cheatwood's videos?
Yeah.
That should be my favorite thing. Is his videos where they come down the escalator and he like walks like, "Good morning, I'm Sheriff Cheatwood. Do you know why you're in this town? You're under arrest." He's like, the last one he did, he's like, "Why do you want to kill me?" And he's like,
the revolver.
He's like, challenge accepted.
He is a character.
He is I think he is like the coolest guy. He's so funny to like. He's one of those people that you're like, he's bigger than like life. Like it's like you should like.
It feels like he should be the sheriff of like a western Texas town, like somewhere out of nowhere.
Yes.
You know?
Anyway,
you're
up.
Well, I want to say movie prices these days outrageous, and
Sure.
and concessions. Ha!
Ha!
Who can afford that?
Yeah, just-
And we were college students once, and I feel like in particular the movie theater that was near our school,
Yeah.
it was an IMAX theater, so a bit fancier, and you had to make do, you had to get by. So I've been known to. There's also Jimmy John's right next door to that theater, so I've been known a time or two to sneak in a number 4 turkey tom.
Turkey Tom, of course.
Yeah.
Was it with the Sprouts or post Sprouts?
Sprouts with Sprouts.
Yeah.
Great question. Yeah, back in the heyday
Yeah.
of the turkey tom.
Where all the diseases came with the Sprouts.
I think that's probably the craziest thing.
It's good. That's a good answer.
Wait, can you not eat sprouts anymore?
No, Sprouts have like they
Sprouts are
removed
not.
Sprouts.
Yeah, there were two. It's too easy to get sick.
Salmonella or something. There was something that was
Yeah.
on the Sprouts. They were having problems with them, so they just.
Great question. Thank you, Armando. Yeah.
All right, it's your pick again. You get to go again.
Yeah, snake draft. I think it's a baller move when someone can get a plate in there. Like when you have a plated dinner in there. Yeah. I've only seen it done. I've never attempted myself, but there's some spectacles out there. When you can get a plated dinner in there and have silverware,
I like
that is like, I salute it.
I saw a family once. They each brought a 2-liter. It was like 4 of them. They all had 2 liters. I was like,
See,
why?
That's a big coat. You have to wear
It was a
big
90-minute movie. Like, what are you doing? That's not my answer. Just to be clear. That seems excessive.
It's a good, excessive for the theater. Awesome.
I don't. I'm gonna try to fall in the vein of the actual question. I like jelly beans. I think jelly beans are like a great snack.
You can like throw those loose in your pocket and get them in. Those are easy. Yeah.
I think those are great.
Is that popcorn or lint?
You don't know. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They all taste the same. So yeah, I'm gonna say jelly beans. Mine's not as fun of an answer, but yeah, I think my favorite like go to if I am getting snacks in movie theater is either Reese's Pieces or Sour Patch Kids.
Yep, that's a good choice.
But if I had to sneak in candy, I'd probably bring in jelly beans.
I'm more
I think
just like
they're easy to like carry. Like there was a season in my life where I was like, just I don't know, I was in sugar made me feel better. Don't do that. I don't endorse that. Like I just carry jelly beans like a bag of jelly beans in your pocket because they are like they're small and so.
Oh, I was joking. You did that.
Yeah, I mean I kept them in the bag. I was no weirdo. I didn't just like dump them in my pocket and just like.
Yeah, that's not as weird. Totally.
Gremlin eat jelly.
They're in the bag.
That's much better, dude.
My tater tots are in a Ziploc
So one
bag.
time, it would make a difference. It would be all over his pants. One time I was working at a camp and we were playing Ghost in the Graveyard, like just the staff, and I was munching. It was a season of munching on jelly beans, and I ran into a tree full blast, and I blacked out. And when I came to, I thought I lost all my teeth, but there was like jelly beans.
Yeah, thank goodness.
I like spit them out like my teeth. They're just chewed up jelly beans. So, there we go. That's
be careful.
my answer. So, all right, that concludes.
Don't run with scissors in your hands or jelly beans in your pocket.
That's it.
That's Noah's Ark.
There you go. All right, this week.
Yep. So we're gonna start off the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna feel a little different. I think week to week.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring back the weekly email, or they're gonna be a bit more devotional than they were previously. So you can look out for that.
Yeah.
That's just to keep us centered on the theme of uncluttered.
Yeah.
Which is the series for the summer. And you mentioned on Sunday too that you've been thinking about this idea of uncluttered for over a year.
Yeah.
So tell us give us a glimpse of what's been stirring up in you.
Yeah. It came from like a season in my own life where I was just like, I just felt stretched, like paper thin, like my time, like every ounce of like, as soon as the Lord filled me up, I was like dumped out rapidly. It almost felt like, just like, it just was like a gutter system where it's like, the Lord's just like, and like, I understand the sentiment of like, we pour ourselves out. We're like, it just felt like I wasn't, like my soul had no room to breathe.
Yeah.
And
Can't have a hole in the bottom of a cup.
yeah,
for too
like
long.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it was a season here. You were here, and
Yeah. Yep.
I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, we were short staffed and
Yeah.
it was tough, but yeah.
And I was just like, I have to begin to put some systems in place to protect like my spirit and my soul. And it's hard because it's like a non-measurable thing, right? Like I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody where it's like, we looked at people for like how they compose themselves and their job and like, all these things. We have these subconscious benchmarkers of people having it together, but we can't measure someone's soul and their spirit. And because of that, often it's neglected within us. And so this idea of like, how do we help people assess things that are almost non-measurable and help them organize their own spirit and their own heart? And so this week in particular, we're going to be looking at insecurity. And I think, again, it's a hard thing to measure, right? This is like, how am I insecure about certain things? Like, am I insecure about...
Why is it some things, not other things?
Yeah. Like what triggers that? And we'll be looking at the life of King David, King Saul, and Solomon. And I hope it's just a really like even this the Devo emails, even the podcast, I think is going to shift a little bit to hopefully like give people like a spiritual spring cleaning. Like somebody said it yesterday, and I love this example of like they said like everybody's got like a closet, like in your house, or like a junk drawer.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a space in their house, and if you don't, please hit me up because you're the first person I've ever met who doesn't have like a space for just like
clutter.
For the clutter. It's just like I don't know where this goes. It doesn't have a place. So like you throw it in the garage, or you throw it in a closet, or you throw it underneath your bed. And our spirit and our soul are the same way, where we have things that we're like, well, this is really clean and tidy, but like this isn't. And so how do we kind of
have a framework for it?
Attend the neglected spaces in our own heart.
Approach.
And cleaning out those closets, and not in like a condemning way, but more of like I think a lot of people have those drawers because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to sort it out. And so hopefully giving people the space and the tools to begin to navigate that.
Well, the big old hope on the other side of that like, man, maybe life uncluttered can be a lot better.
Yeah, it for sure is. Yeah. And I began to read a lot of books that I'll be kind of referencing, and hopefully if people are like serious about it, they can also pick up and read and resource them. And that's the goal. That's the heart behind it.
Awesome.
It's been a journey for me personally, and hopefully it can help some people who may be in a similar season or will face one later down the road.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Can all benefit.
Yep.
We'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's what's coming up Sunday.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Look forward to it.
With that
in addition
said,
to baby dedications and
updates,
and, some church updates. Yep.
All the
It's gonna be a
things.
great Sunday. We'll see you there.
That's it. With that said, let me pray. We'll wrap up season 1. Dear Father, thank you for who you are. Thank you for your many blessings, God. We just lift up the people of our church. There are people who are struggling with sickness and just other obstacles, God, from careers and choices and colleges and all these things, God. We just lift them up. We ask that you fill them with hope, fill them with peace, God, and fill them with joy. We thank you for who you are. We thank you that there is truth found in you. We commit all these things to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hags.
See you on the other side.
Have a great summer. Never change.
That's it.